So welcome to today's episode. Today I have Katy here for me from Sero Therapy. She's a registered clinical counseling. And I'm so happy to have her. Her expertise are dealing with moms with postpartum depression, anxiety, trauma healing.
Yeah.
And
perinatal mental health.
Yes. And I love that perinatal mental health because when I was even doing my research about you, there's postpartum depression, anxiety, trauma healing. There's so much, but the perinatal really covers up that nice package of pre, post.
Yes. And it's the trying to fall pregnant, the pregnancy, the postpartum, and it's not just the first year.
Yes.
Postpartum, the world is starting to understand that the postpartum period is much longer. They're saying now even close to 5 years.
That's right. I think that's just the new research I see. I wanted Katy join me today because as a mom of 4, I do recognize that postpartum struggle is so real.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how your birth or how your birthing experiences or even parenting went, there's always a struggle through whatever that's gonna arise from daily basis. Also working with women daily, I noticed that postpartum period, even prenatal period, is such a sensitive period. How we care for moms.
100%. And we'll talk about it further, but what can we do to help new families? Focus on mom. That is where the energy needs to go. Yes. I'm not worried about the babies.
Yes.
The babies are good.
This is so
they're getting cuddled. They're fine. It's how is mom doing?
Yes. It's so important.
Yeah.
So to dive in, I want to ask you what inspired you to become a clinical counselor and especially to be specialized in the perinatal area.
Sure. So I was involved in the nonprofit sector for 10 years before I became a therapist, and I just loved it. I loved working with people. I worked with children, teenagers, adults in all different ways. And so it was kind of a natural step for me to I did my master's in education here actually at UNBC, and it was so good.
So good.
Had such a good experience. And then, so I was doing trauma counseling for the years before I had my daughter, and I thought that I was going to do trauma counseling. I thought that was the way I was going to go. And then I had my baby in October of 2020. And so it's really hard to discern why my postpartum period was so difficult. Was it because the entire world was going through this incredibly difficult experience? And so it's already an isolating period, and then added on actual isolation, I think it just compounded everything. So the reason I'm so inspired by perinatal mental health is there's 2 big reasons. The first, of course, is my own experience. I was really surprised that even I was a therapist when I had a baby, and there was so much I didn't know about intrusive thoughts, about the intensity of having a baby, the shifts in your body, the mental shifts. There's so much I didn't know, and it took me out by the knees. And then when my daughter was about 8 months postpartum, I connected with my perinatal therapist, who's actually still my therapist. She's amazing. And I was so inspired by her. Yeah. She's such an incredible woman. And so that was the 2 main reasons that I became really passionate about this. Yeah. And my daughter's 5 now, and I still love this population so deeply. I'm just so lucky.
Yes.
But anyway, it was such an intense period for me that I really wanted to move back into it and walk other predominantly moms through it as well. Yeah.
And then you open up and then now you have your own practice?
Yes, I'm a private practice, Sero Therapy. I started it in 2022, very slowly. Because I think lots of moms, I was not ready at 1 year. I was like, there's no way. My brain was still very much putting the pieces back together, healing. And so, but 2.5 years later, after I had my daughter, I started my practice. I talked about it for many years. I'm so fortunate that I get to build my working hours around my daughter's schedule. I get to be there for her. And that was kind of the whole goal. Started it in 2022, and then I started with individual work. That's primarily what I do. And then it grew. I do workshops now. I do consultation. So it's really grown in a beautiful, organic way.
To our the first questions I was going to ask, it's about the struggles that mom's experiencing. And when is a good time to reach out?
I mean, in a perfect world, I think reaching out when you're pregnant is a really helpful.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because there's a lot of misconceptions about birth, about what pregnancy is supposed to be like. So I love to meet people during their pregnancy so that we can build a lot of what I call a robust idea of birth. Yeah. Sometimes people are like, I have a really, long birth plan. And then so it's I get it, but as you know, birth is unpredictable in a lot of ways. And so we work more towards this idea of birth preferences. How do you want to feel? Who do you want in the room? How do we keep things as calm and grounded as possible during an event that can be quite intense?
Yeah.
It's great, right?
Yeah.
So then in the postpartum period, they already know what to expect a little bit around, like, for example, intrusive thoughts, how normal they are. A lot of women don't know that they're super normal. There's a biological function for them, but if we keep them inside, they get really big. And so I very frequently will meet moms about 3-4 weeks postpartum, and they log on, and then it's just like, I'm like, I know.
Yes.
Oh, and I say, you're going to be okay. It will never be as hard as it is right now. But I'm also sorry that you're suffering. I think so many people say to me, no one told me it was going to be like this.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say we talk about baby blues, which I've always kind of made fun of. Like, it's this cute little, like, baby blues.
I know.
And you're like, such a good sweating. Then the hormone
baby blues are just as, I mean,
so baby blues, I think, is characterized by the first 3 weeks, and then everyone's, like, on you. Are you doing? And you're like, well, I can't stop crying, which is very normal. And I think another thing that I talk about is there is never a time in anyone's life, man or woman, that has the hormonal shift like that happens so intensely after you have a baby. That's the biggest hormonal shift ever. So during pregnancy, progesterone, estrogen, build. The second you give birth, that plummets. And I think we talk about hormones like they're this cute little thing, but it alters your personality, your body, your mind, your soul, everything. Estrogen for women is this super hormone, right? And so that crash is so intense. So, in the weeks after having a baby, everyone call it crying club, a lot of sighing, right? Which is totally normal. I think the big thing is, if medical professionals will say, if your symptoms persist for X amount of time. Now, the way I like to think about it is, if we get support early on, we talk about these things early on, moms get to voice this stuff early on. And again, this is anecdotal, but I think what I've seen in my practice is that there's less likelihood to develop into a chronic condition. But the big things are, firstly, you don't have to suffer. You know what I mean? I think people will see me 8-9 months and they're just like, I thought it was normal, and it just stuck around.
Yes.
Yeah, of course it did, because you weren't getting any support. Yeah. And so I think the big things are, like, weeks and weeks of feelings. And we'll talk more about this, because I think the biggest misconception is, what does postpartum depression and anxiety look like? I think a lot of people don't see themselves in the symptom checklist that we find. Totally. So I think the big thing is, if you're suffering at all, reach out, get some help. And then, of course, if the symptoms are persisting months after you have a baby, it's kind of a big thing to pay attention to.
And then I just said that it really made me kind of a light lit up for me, that just thinking how I didn't think about it to do prenatal reach out, same as I do with the lactation counseling, breastfeeding. If you reach out, you're more set up for success at the end. And then the other thing, it's almost, when you were talking, it's almost everybody should have access to prenatal, like almost 100%, unless you you have very good support and you've been through and you feel like you're a rock. But even then, any birth or any postpartum thing can throw you off. Your baby's more fussier than the first one. Like, you can never predict how it's gonna go just because you had more kids. Some people I've done this before, but it can be still hard. But I would love the notion, same as for breastfeeding, everybody gets seen by a lactation consultant in the hospital, everybody gets seen by a clinical counselor, during pregnancy and postpartum, just almost like a mandate that you get, or at least you get offered, and it's everybody has one. Because then I think, because there's a thing, sometimes when you get stuck in that rut, either the depression or anxiety or whatever, any kind of alternation in postpartum, when you're stuck in a rut, I feel like it's hard to reach out, and you don't even notice it when you're in it. And it's hard to reach out, versus like you're already getting support during, and then you just kind of know I know it's crazy. It makes so much sense now in my head. But I'm like,
totally. And I think, again, I didn't know this either. So now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would, even just one session would have been so helpful. Like, we can't anticipate what your baby's going to be like, what breastfeeding is going to be like, if that's what you want to do. But because the reason I started thinking about intrusive thoughts was I was listening to this podcast, and the woman was being interviewed. Her name is Nicole Fairbrother. She is I think a psychiatrist out of Vancouver Island, and she primarily, before she had a child, researched OCD. So OCD thoughts in nature are like, they come in quick and they kind of cycle and they're repetitive. And so she knew that postpartum and anxiety, intrusive thoughts looks a lot like those thoughts. So she was in the shower. I think it's what she said. I was in the shower and my first one came in and I knew what to expect. And I thought, huh, there it is. But she's like, and then I thought about, what if women don't know?
Yes.
And because the thoughts, the actual thoughts themselves are often horrific and so scary. And sometimes the mom is the one accidentally or even on purpose doing the harm.
Yes.
And that is so deeply destabilizing and honestly traumatizing for women, because they're like, I love my baby.
Yes.
Why is this happening? So the one thing I always say, even in the consult, if you never book me, I will tell you about this, because I want women to know that it's normal.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with how good of a parent you are. In fact, your rejection of the thoughts, your disgust, indicates that you are a beautiful, amazing, loving.
Yes.
Yes. And so I want everyone to know that before we get started. And that's the thing about consult. I understand that therapy is not accessible for us. Totally. And we'll talk about resources in our community, but if you can get a couple sessions before, we'll talk about that. And I also offer, and this is not something that people widely use, but I love doing them. We call it like a prenatal wellness check, and I have both partners.
Nice.
If you are partners,
it's even good for the partners for sure. Yeah.
And we'll have the partner in the session, and we'll talk a little bit about what to expect, what they can do to help. We talk a lot about boundaries around who you want to visit you.
Yeah. Those are so important.
All these kind of, I call it fourth trimester.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. I love doing them. And I find that even if you don't need to utilize the boundaries, you've thought about them. And I remember a good friend of mine was nearly due with my daughter. And she's like, have you looked into the fourth trimester? And I was like, I know everything.
Of course, it's just, of course.
Sure, it's like,
it's like the hardest part after,
it's the first 3 months after you have a baby. Yeah, it knocks you off. It can knock you off your feet.
The latest research I heard that was like years ago, it's 1 out of 4 women experience postpartum depression, anxiety. I'm gonna say but what I'm seeing clinically, it's almost everybody, even slightly having some form of experiencing something, because there's never gonna be flowers and butterflies and rainbows ever, even if you have the best support around the house. I mean, I feel like one of the major things for success, I do have noticed when I spoke with women, it's the support. If they have a very good supportive family, those women, I feel like they thrive better. I feel like when I check in 6 weeks or whatever, we see them postpartum, they are not, or, they are doing better than people very isolated, families far away. They don't have anyone to reach out, husbands working in a camp, for 2 weeks. I feel like those are like such a, red flags.
Totally. I think, and we talk a lot about this in the work, and everyone's like, oh, it takes a village, but we don't have villages anymore.
Yes.
We live in isolation. And I think that it's no one's fault. Yeah. But when you are up all night with your baby and then your partner goes to work and you're alone all day and you're so tired, and versus if an auntie or a friend or, a parent comes over at 8:30 and is like, let me hold your baby while you sleep for 3 hours. Like that's going to make or break your day. Yeah. And I think too, just knowing that other people are around, I don't know about you, but if I'm parenting, I'm going to hang out with my kid and let's say there's, she's having a tough day. If I just know my partner's in the house, I feel a bit calmer.
I know.
Right?
Because it's like,
might not be involved, but he's there. So
just the presence, it gives you that strength. Like it makes you be like so much taller versus like no one's here. I'm just like texting my husband. They're attacking me. So
I think just knowing that there's people surrounding you and supporting you can make such a difference, because I think women in particular, they just feel so alone.
Yes.
And that is a hard feeling mentally for anybody, whether or not you've had a baby. So,
And then do you think there's still that stigma? I feel like there's always going to be a stigma.
Therapy?
Yeah. Or not even therapy, or even just like women reach out. You're not a bad mom because you have those thoughts or anything. It is it is all the hormones. I always tell people, not that I'm going to blame everything, but I'm going to blame everything on the hormones this time, because it is not, you're not trying to be a bad mom or an unattentive mom or a lazy mom.
And a lot of the work that I do in my practice is deconstructing the story of motherhood, right? What does it mean to be a mom? And in a lot of parts of the world, culturally, it's like, oh, you have your baby, you have nothing but joy, everything's amazing, my life is complete. nothing is wrong. And then if I reach out, that indicates that something is wrong. And always with parenthood, in particular motherhood, if something's wrong, it's right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really deconstructing this idea that, firstly, I would say a lot of women I work with don't have this like beautiful angels and butterflies rush of love when their baby, they've just been in labor. Or they've just had surgery. It's very hard to connect. That's very normal. It does not indicate that you don't love your child. But we don't talk about that. We don't talk about the fact that at the beginning, a lot of people don't love the baby stage.
Yes.
You love your child. You're protective of your child.
Yes.
And then on top of all of that, you have healing from pregnancy and delivery. Whether you have surgery or not, you're healing. It's a huge, like, this is why our hair falls out. My friend is a hairstylist. She's like, because of like the trauma of birth, like your hair falls out, right? Because it's so intense. Even if you have like what we classify as sort of a traditional birth, it's so intense on the physical self. So I think there's so much that we don't talk about. And then so people who access help, they think there's something wrong.
Yes. And it's only just happening to me. I always think it's not you.
The same way if you broke your leg and
you go get help.
Like you would get, you'd get like, you go to the hospital, then you'd get rehab. People aren't like, oh, so when's your marathon? You know what I mean? I think we have to remember that this is an incredibly, it's just a very intense experience. So stigma, I was thinking about this idea of stigma. I'm kind of biased because I'm like in the therapy.
Yes.
Like what?
Yes. I know.
But for sure, I think this idea that there's something wrong with me versus this is a very normal reaction to having a child.
And I think it's so nice that I think the messaging is go there so much. I mean, I feel like, and this is again too, having you here, it's just getting those messages out there for people.
Yeah. It's all good. Preventative care, right? We're at that. So like
it's always preventative.
Totally. And then I just feel like the postpartum period would be easier if you knew a little bit about what can happen. Like the sweating. No one talks.
I know what you're talking about, sweating.
Your arena is like, I remember when I thought breastfeeding was just pop them on.
Yes.
Just pop. And I didn't realize how technical, how there's so many things that I had such a very intense experience with nursing. And I didn't realize, like, I just witnessed people around me popping their babies on. And I felt like I laughed so deeply. And that was so much part of my postpartum experience was breastfeeding and how much I struggled with it and we can talk about it, but I had a lot of things kind of go wrong. And I definitely just thought it was me that I wasn't doing it.
Yeah, right. Because it makes it look so easy. I know. I hate that.
and then you cannot be prepared for the level of exhaustion. You cannot. I don't care if you used to stay up late. I don't know. You cannot. So you're tired, you're healing, and then your child is up every 2 hours, every hour. And you're like, I'm a walking zombie. And so when you are that tired, your brain is not functioning as it should. And you are way more vulnerable to just negative self-talk, like feeling bad about yourself because you're so tired, right? When you get I feel bad for the ones, but the first time you get a decent night's sleep, you're like, am I decent? I mean, you're up twice.
Like, no, 4-hour stretch.
No. Sleep is so imperative for our mental health.
It is.
And when you don't have it, and then also your body's healing, it needs sleep to heal. Anyway, it's a wild time.
I know it is. I feel like it's like not to like scare moms, whoever's listening, and you're pregnant or you just you think about having a baby or even just your woman and you're listening to it with mental health. But it is a wild ride. But I think it's so good to be open about it because just almost normalize it that it's okay. Yeah. It's gonna be rocky, but it's you're gonna survive. There's support, and it's gonna make you so much stronger. And all these experiences, I always talk about like negative or not even negative, but all these like rocky road of up and down experiences will make you be so much stronger right then. So don't be nervous about, having a baby, getting pregnant, all that stuff. Do it if you're already thinking of doing it, but it is just going to make you a stronger person at the end, And
it is kind of the word I use. It's the most sacred thing, right? When you it's called the hero's journey, right? When you go through this and this is also the more mental health aspect that nothing opens up your childhood. Like having a baby. And so the reason it's so intense too, is because of the massive emotional transformation of women. And like if your partner is also different. You're both different people. You've gone through this incredibly intense thing. You're different. So you're going through all this physical stuff, all the exhaustion. And then you're also like, who am I? And so it's so intense in a short period of time. But when you get through it, you're like, I can literally conquer anything. You do get through it. And it's a sacred portal. And I think there's nothing wrong. We just need to, if we can, add scaffolding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this kind of brings in my next point of, so how modern society, the rise of technology, increased issues with mental health, and how we should look, again, the story, how we make up our stories about ourselves.
I'm biased.
Okay.
I was on social media my whole adult life. I'm a bit older, so like in my 20s. And then I was on it when I had my daughter, and it was so destructive for me.
Yeah.
I was telling Letty earlier that I'm back on it now, and I'm like, I feel like a 90-year-old because I've been off for 5 years now. And I was 4 or 5 months postpartum, and I'll never forget this, that I felt, firstly, I was on it. And then I remember watching this video with this woman that, this is my 3-week-old routine. And I was like, I don't have a routine. My 3-week-old. It's like, also what? 3-week-old is on a routine.
I know.
And I panicked and I felt bad about myself. And then, everyone just looked so easy. And I was struggling so deeply. And then I remember about 2 months postpartum, I put a picture of my daughter, and I'll never forget this. I put a picture of her. It looked beautiful. I wrote this whole caption about motherhood and how, and I was lying. I lied. I was lying. I was struggling so deeply. And then I put this out to the world, and I was like, I'm part of the problem. Right. And then I got rid of it. I was like, I'm out.
It is insane how in-depth we can go in with how it's either destroying people's like self-image or self-thoughts and what I should be doing. And I really don't want moms to feel like there's the world out there that's not real. You know,
it's too much stimulus. Like, you're already overwhelmed, and it's like you said, if you're reading 400 different opinions, that's too much information. It's too much. And I am very, very hesitant. If anyone's giving you advice about your child, we have to remember that every latch is different. Every child is different. Every child's nervous system is different. So it's like, we cannot take this blanket. I think it's really bad in the sleep training. Oh my God. There's two sides, right? Either one, you don't sleep train, and then your college child's going to be in your bed. Or you sleep train, and then you're going to mess up attachment, and you have to pick a side. The way I explain it to my clients is, if you're on Instagram, for example, you're in a mall. You're in a mall. They're trying to sell you a product. And whether that product is my perfect life, look at me, versus, I want you to be, if you're going to be on social media, go at it with a really critical lens. People are trying to sell you something, and they're selling it by their perfect lifestyle, right? By these things. And then I don't want to sit here and say technology is bad. It's not. Like my therapist lives in Vancouver. I did all my training on, you know what I mean? It's beautiful. But if you are noticing your body, like if you feel bad, get off of it. Get off of it. Go on the browser. Nothing is more annoying than checking Instagram on a browser.
I know. Go back into the thing. It's like this much, and you're like, okay, I will just be done.
If you're feeling like you compare yourself, you're feeling anxious. Even if you think your body's calm, but you're vibrating.
Those the sensations. I know.
I might get off of it. I'm pretty anti it, but I also think that's not fair, because it's just, I'm very influenced by my own experience.
I know. And I think that's what's so individualizing for everybody.
Well, 3-week-old routine.
I know. That makes me nervous. I know.
If I could go back, I would tell my earlier self, get off of it faster. And I was 2 months postpartum when I broke up with it. And I tell people this all the time in my life. I am very, very protective of my space. And what media I consume. Including the news. The internet will tell you it looks a certain way, and it looks so differently. And this is my experience, and I'm happy to share it, is I didn't see myself when I was like, is something wrong? I had a little, inclination, and I'd look online, and it was like, okay, you're not showering, you're not getting out of bed. I was showering. I was going for daily walks. I was, making dinner. And I was struggling so deeply. And so I think that, so postpartum anxiety, there is a normal elevation of anxiety in mothers after they give birth.
Because
you have to
protecting instinct,
mama bear, right?
Mama bear.
So it is normal. Now, the thing to pay attention to is your anxiety, two things: telling stories that are hurting you, and number two, is it stopping you from doing something? So I couldn't chop vegetables near my baby. She had to be 10 feet away because I was scared what was going to accidentally do something. So, and then I wouldn't let people walk around her because I was scared someone was going to step on her. And in hindsight, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's irrational. But when you're in it, and anxiety is a full body experience. You cannot see outside of yourself. It just is everything. And then on the other end, so the way that I view it is, anxiety is a lot of activation anxiety in the system. Our bodies. depression is what I would classify as flatness, stuckness, collapse.
Yeah.
They go hand in hand because
Yeah.
we can't live up here
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah.
And when all the cortisol and the adrenaline's pumping, we get exhausted, we crash, we go down. And that's a very normal experience. So I think the big thing is, even if you don't think you have like a technical diagnosis, you don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
You can, like, parenting can be so beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it really can,
Yeah.
if you are feeling okay and you have the support. And so I think the big thing is, even if you're not hitting the,
check mark for what, I'm fine.
But you think, do I feel different? Do I feel, am I having a really hard time connecting with my baby?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing.
Yes.
Women feel so guilty about
I know
this.
that I don't want to say it out loud.
I know.
But I'm
It's like, it's okay. It's because your body, your nervous system is so at capacity. We can't, like, when we're flat, when we're like in a collapse state, we're not loving, we're not creative, we're not connecting. No, you're surviving. And the way that I like to explain survival mode, for me, it was like, survival mode was, those blinkers on horses?
Yes.
Like, eyes down.
Yes.
Okay, breakfast, water, get this, do this.
Yeah.
This has to get done. And it was like task after
yeah.
task. Not
So
survival
much.
phone means looking up and looking around.
Yes.
Feeling okay in my body. Like, that's what
I like that.
Yeah. And
Is it what we're calling when you feel like your blinders are down and that's for your living? That's when you're in that experience. And then that could be a sign. Yeah.
Well, it's like, because
So
life
much.
is not just a checklist, right?
No.
So for me,
I
how
like
I experienced it was, I needed a lot of control, which is so common, right?
Yes.
Are you fighting with your spouse a little bit? And your spouse is like, why are you being so controlling? It's not your fault. We hold tight when things feel not good in our system. Yeah. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. And there's so much we can do. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The therapy that I do is just so, so powerful. And this is the big thing to notice. It keeps going. You never feel better. Yeah. Even when you get answers. And this is a story that I would tell too, is this is right before I was diagnosed. And so I was trying to researching car seats for my daughter.
That's great.
But I was
sleepless nights for.
Yes, I completely sleepless nights. So I'm reading, and it was bucket seat to the car seat that she's in now. So I was reading crash reports for literally weeks, reading data that I also don't really understand.
To interpret,
Yes, and then we purchased one, and then I kept reading crash.
Yes,
my husband was like, "Girl, we bought one. I'm like, what's going on?"
Yes,
here? Right. So I think. Does it feel like an energy? Does it feel like you never find the answer that you want? Does it never stop? Do you never have a break from it? And then the health thing, I remember there was a heat wave the summer after my daughter was born. And I was like obsessing about the temperature of her room because we had like a whatever. And it was like over 1 degree.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's hard though to step back and say that's irrational. This is why we need people around us to say, are you okay?
Yes.
That's what happened to me. Someone I love dearly said, I think you're not okay. And I was like, I'm fine.
I know.
Like, I don't think you're fine. I need you to go talk to a doctor. And I was like, oh, what are you on about? And then she's like, did you know that on this FaceTime you haven't stopped crying for 3 hours? And I was like, I did not know that.
I didn't know that.
Right. And so I was fortunate I had someone do that for me.
Yeah.
And not all of us have that, but I think that's why we want to increase mom's contact with the outside.
Yes.
As much as possible.
Yes.
So that more eyes are on you.
Yeah. And that kind of leads to my topic that I want to cover. It's the support, our support system, our community. What more partners can say or do that will be beneficial or helping versus not helping?
Yes. Oh, that's such a great question. By the way, I thought about this all night. I actually think this is a general rule in how to support someone. Yeah. Less is more.
Less is more.
We think we have to say the perfect thing, the perfect combination of words, and we don't. Your partner is struggling. You say, hey, I see you. Mm-hmm. I see how hard you're working. Mm-hmm. Are you okay? Mm-hmm. And if that feels, because are you okay can feel like an overwhelming question. You're like, I don't know. You're like, okay, what's your sleep like? How does your body feel? Like, are you noticing that you're fixating? And these are sort of clinical questions. Yes. So I don't want to put pressure on people to ask this, but if you think your partner is struggling, I think I'm all about intentional sit down, eye contact, hi love.
Yes.
I'm worried about you. Can we talk about this? And that's it. You don't have to say anything perfect. It's just, I see you. I'm here with you. Yeah. Let's figure this out together to keep it simple. Yeah. And this is for all the partners too. Like childcare is one job. Cleaning the house is another job. cooking the food is enough. These are 3 separate jobs. When you are taking care of a child, you are working full time, more than full time.
You're doing like 4, like you do so many jobs that you would be concerting out at
4 hours,
when you go to
no breaks. So I think this is a misconception. I know that partners will be like, I worked all day. It's like your partner works all day. They didn't maybe earn money outside of the home. You both worked all day. In fact, one of you probably had more breaks. And like my husband, like nothing is harder than caring for a child.
Yes.
Any job. It's like, I want to mow the lawn. No, I want to mow the lawn.
know.
Because you just want to put a podcast in.
You want to get out of here. I know.
So I think that's the first misconception is please. Yeah. And the house will be messy.
Yes.
Dinner's not going to be made.
Yes.
It's all good. And for relationships, there is a disconnect. You will find each other again. But I think in the meantime, so let's say you notice your partner hasn't, left bed. Instead of being like, I've noticed you haven't left bed, is like, hey, I'm worried about you.
Okay. The word about you is the key word.
Yeah. I love you and I'm worried and I think you're suffering and I don't want you to suffer. Can we talk about it? Right.
I like that.
Yeah. I think gentle, I see this all the way that you comfort your child, talk to your spouse. Like
I feel
with
like you
such
forget.
tenderness. Yeah. Like, when the 2-year-old's having a meltdown, it's like, okay, that's a big feeling. Can you talk to me like that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think avoid pointing things out. Just being like, hey, think with moms or just new families in general, gentleness, because you are so vulnerable, so fragile. You're so vulnerable. You're so tired. So that's another thing is when you're that tired, people talk to you and the information is not really going in. So if I have a new mom client and we, let's say, talk about, stuff to do or resources, I'm like, I'm going to email this to you. Cause they're just like, thank you. Because they're not going to remember because you're so tired. So I'm an advocate of always tender, always gentle, and you can say things that are direct in a gentle way, right? It's just how you deliver it. And now if it's your neighbor, I think I'm like, I always give a way out.
Yes.
If I'm overstepping, you tell me to get lost.
Yes.
Here's what I'm noticing. I could be wrong.
Yes.
Could be wrong, but here's what I've noticed. And I just want to say, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, how's it going? How are things? How's your heart?
And I like that how you mentioned about the connecting moms.
Now, therapy, if that's not an option for you, totally understand. They're in our community in Terrace. There are free resources that you can access. There's the Park Pregnancy Center.
Yes.
There's the drop-in space at the childcare resource building right by the comic site. There's public health.
Yes.
I know they're busy, but it's like use them. They are professionals. Like I think a big thing people obsess about the weight of their child.
Yes.
The weight gain.
Yes.
So stressful.
Yes.
And so I think there are free I know it's when you are struggling, it is the last thing you want to do, but get out of the house and get in front of someone that can just say, hey, here's a cup of tea. Like you're not alone in this. Yeah.
I even, and then this is going to tie into my next topic coming up, but about we living so rural or so isolated from the bigger centers, we smaller community. Do you feel like that's affecting moms negative or positive? Some people think it's positive, negative because small community. Some people think it's cool because you're so close, you know your neighbors. I hope it's not a stigma for people in small communities, but I wonder how.
I'll tell you an annoying therapy answer.
Okay.
I love it. It's annoying talking to therapists because I'm like, well, things aren't black and white in the sense like for some people it is like there are some beautiful benefits. We are so close to the outdoors. A lot of the work I do with my clients is resourcing nature.
And I've been hearing about that the new research coming up. It's just
like stand on the grass.
Yes.
Like
hug a tree.
Just get outside. Yeah, if you can. Also, when your baby's crying and won't go to sleep, go stand outside in the winter. They'll pass out and like bundle down. Anyway, so I think that's another thing. We have really accessible nature. It's quieter, so there's less stimulation. I don't know about you, but when I used to live in the city my whole life, and when I go back now, I'm just vibrating.
I know.
Right? So there's pros. And I think some of the cons are just there's less drop-in spaces.
Yes.
There's less I was doing research for a Vancouver client and I was like, oh my gosh, she had like lactation support here and this support here and development support here. And there was just free drop. There's so much. So we have less of that stuff.
Yes.
We have beautiful resources. We just have less of that stuff. And so I don't know, pro cons, like again, I bumped into my clients or even just friends like a couple of weeks postpartum at Walmart, and we haven't all cried at Walmart. Then have you ever lived, right? And so, and then I get to we get to show up for each other in a more personal way. That can be too much for some people.
Yes.
to be seen as struggling. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it really
Depending.
depends on the person, what they need.
Yeah. And how can people find you?
So my website is serotherapy.ca, SERO therapy.ca. You can email me at Katy, Katy, at serotherapy.ca. You can find me online at Katy Sero Therapy +38. I just started, so bear with me. But yeah, there's lots of ways. I also have a Psychology Today profile. If you look up Katy Minhinnick, clinical counselor, Terrace, you'll find me. I'll do one quick plug. We are, my girlfriend and I, yes, I know.
Sorry.
My girlfriend
Good.
I know, we're running a workshop starting in 2 weeks called The Work Within, which is because this is, I didn't really get into this, but part of the reason that parenting is so hard is a lot of us are reparenting ourselves and trying to be a parent that shows up in a gentle and kind way. So that's really hard work.
Yes.
Deeply hard work. And we wanted to just we'll talk a little bit about parenting, but also really about how do you stay regulated as a parent when they push every last button, because they're supposed to developmentally. It's hard. And we don't have to be these sort of like Zen masters. There's ways that you can feel regulated in parenting, and also, just get support. We wanted to, and this is part of the village, we wanted to try to build community between parents.
And where do you hold your programs, and when is it starting?
That's a good question. So for my individual counseling, I work online. So because I work with new moms. They're like, thank God I don't leave the house. So it's like valid.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So there's that. But the workshop that we are running, we're doing it at the Hunter's Den, above the back eddy.
Yes.
We're going to make it very cozy, we'll have a fire, that kind of thing.
Oh,
we're sitting in our chairs together. And then I do workshops all over town as well. If folks are listening, around nervous system, burnout, mental health, all that kind of stuff.
No, thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate your time to come in and see us. Thank you for listening. Bye.